Hey everyone, I'm Melanie from Streamline Legal, where we help law firms get the most out of their practice management software. Welcome to part 2 of our series, Switching Practice Management Software in 2 weeks or less. Today, or I should say this afternoon, we're talking about people. This morning we spoke about transferring your data, so check that out if you have a minute. And today we're going to continue on with knowing your people. When we practice law, oftentimes we have people working with us. A lot of times we can get some great leverage and be able to help a lot more clients and grow a lot more quickly with other people on our team. And it's very important that we know our people. And by that, I mean know how they work and how they react and how they operate so that we can predict how things will go when we bring about change. So in our example today, if we're changing our practice management software, then we need to start thinking a little bit about how our team responds to change. Now, some of them may have already told you. For example, when you announced that we were switching to this other practice management software, they may have had some very strong words or strong opinions about that. And so you may already know. Others of them may have not said anything and been pretty quiet about it. There's also a group of people that may have said that they were okay with it, and then we don't know for sure how they're going to respond when it comes down to it. Now, you know your team far better than I do, of course, because of course you may have a mixture of these types of people. And so I do want you to take a little bit of time thinking about who's going to really take to this change pretty quickly, if we had to predict, who's going to struggle more with it. And we can look at ways that they've responded to change in our firm before, if we've made other changes, or we can also think about if we've heard anything about how they've responded to changes outside of work in their personal lives, something like that, then we may be able to figure that out as well. But what I find is there's pretty much 3 types of people, right? And the first group we're going to talk about are people that really struggle with change. And some of them just flat out cannot change, right? They may do an awesome job at something they know and they will knock it out of the park every time. But if we throw a curveball in there or if we change up something in the situation, then they are absolutely lost and very, very challenged. So that may manifest in people deciding that they'd rather leave the firm or retire than have to deal with the change that's coming that's this big. So you'll need to make a decision as to how you want to deal with that. Do we wait until, let's say, Mary retires to change software, or do we do it now knowing that we risk her leaving? And making that decision, I would encourage you, be careful not to sacrifice the benefits of the software for the perceived benefits of Mary staying, right? So those are things we have to weigh as business owners. The second group of people that I find are people that on the opposite side of the spectrum really thrive on change. And in fact, they get bored if they're doing any one thing for too long. These are the people that you really do want to lean on in helping to lead you through this change, lead the team through this change, right? They're the cheerleaders. They're the ones that are going to be excited. They're going to be the ones that are going to dive in, with 2 feet, and they're going to be really a great asset to you as you work through this change with the rest of your team. However, a vast majority of the people are somewhere in the middle, right? A vast majority of people find change to be really challenging and may become stressed or apprehensive about it. But with time and knowledge, they adapt just like they originally adapted to your current software, right? But we want to be able to jumpstart this adaptation and streamline it, so to speak, so that we can get the highest ROI out of our team and out of this new software as soon as possible. So a few tips on making sure that we can make that happen. First of all, as much as you're able, please do involve them in the decision-making process to switch. You will have the final say, of course, as to what software you're switching to or when that's going to happen, but let's give them some input as to what they would like to see in a software or what challenges they currently have in the current software. And when we do that, whether you go with their decision or not, they will be more comfortable with that final decision, knowing that they had that input and that you took these things into consideration. So I would definitely recommend involving them in the decision-making process. Now, if that's already passed, or once that has passed, I also want you to listen to their worries and concerns throughout this process, right? Make sure that when they complain about something, you do hear it and you're not just writing it off as, oh, well, she can't handle change. No, let's make sure that we know what they're complaining about, what they feel like the challenges are, so that we can get whatever resources we need to help them, right? I promise you they are doing things in the current software that you don't even know about. And that's okay. You don't need to know about everything. But when we are adopting a new software, we want to make sure that the things that they're doing in the old software can either be handled or done in the new software, or we've made arrangements to accommodate that. So we want to make sure that they don't feel like they're losing something by going to this new software. Also, as much as you're listening to them, make sure you're checking in with them regularly throughout the whole process, because we do want to pivot where we need to. It's not unusual for salespeople to make some pretty large claims about the software. And once we get into it, we may find something that isn't quite what we're looking for or wasn't quite what we expected, in which case we may need to pivot. We might want to get some more resources. We might want to change our mind about a particular step in the process. All kinds of things that we can do, but only if we're checking in with our team regularly and making those changes and enabling them to make those changes to make their lives easier. And then lastly, I really can't say this enough or spend enough time talking about this part of it, and that is to train your team. Now, there's all kinds of ways we can train our team, but I'm telling you, this virtually never happens. I talk to law firms all day long, and I rarely see them training their team on any type of software, much less their practice management software. Most of the time, the team is expected to figure it out or to find whatever resources they can, but they're not provided with time or a budget in order to do that. And that makes it that much more challenging. And so we want to make sure that this transition is successful for everyone, for ourselves, for our team, for our clients. And so I want to make sure that we are getting those training resources for them. Sometimes the software company has training resources. And remember those people that were thriving on change at the beginning that we talked about? They're the ones that I want you to assign to take time, and firm resources to be able to learn the software or learn parts of it and then teach it to the rest of the team, because they could be, depending on their personality, very effective teachers, and the other rest of the team will look to them in order to learn what they need to in order to operate within your firm, because these people already know how your firm operates, right? And then lastly, you can hire a professional consultant or trainer to teach the team as well. But again, I rarely see this happening, and I think it is such a mistake. I think that the money you put into training your team will come back to you tenfold by them not getting frustrated and losing productivity because they're trying to figure something out or they're trying to get something done. And so we want to make sure when we go into this that our team is as confident as they can be to know that they can at least maintain the status quo while we start using the new software. Train them ahead of time before they get into the new software. So when they get in there, they can at least keep the operations running the way they have been. And then after that, we can start leveling up and using features that we've never used or exploring features that we've never used before. But if I'm jumping into a software feeling like I'm drowning because I don't have any of these resources, I've never had the time or nor money or training to know what I'm doing, that's going to make for a really tough situation. So please get to know your team even more. Talk to them about change. Talk to them about this new software so that both you and them can be that much more productive once you get in. Thanks so much for joining me. Join me this evening when we're going to start talking about timing. The timing of this switch of the practice management software can be critical. And so I'm excited to discuss that this evening with you. Join us again this evening. Good night.